So today we're here for a quick look at error correction. So one of the things at CHATTcon we get a lot of questions about what is our error correction protocol. And I'm going to tell you what our error correction protocol is, sort of per se. These quick looks are brought to you by Terra Nova Training Center, who's a platinum sponsor of CHATTcon 2019, not 2018. And we're thrilled to have them because it means that we are going to be able to bring you a better event and get more technology. Ryan will be able to have all the cables that he wants. The conference we're talking about is CHATTcon, the Convergence of Human and Animal Training and Technology, which is taking place in Seattle, July 19th to 21st. And hopefully we're going to see you all there. Oh, there's Jess. Hi, Jess. So today's topic is error correction. And there's sort of two general classes of errors that, and this is not official, this is just something that we've kind of made up and observed. One is the error that people make in the actual tag point. So when we're teaching dogs with clicker training or people with tag teach, we do one thing at a time. And the one thing in tag teach is called the tag point. So that is the one goal that the learner is trying to achieve on this turn. So it might be your finger up. And if finger up is the tag point, then if the finger is up, they get a tag, and if their finger is not up, you don't get a tag, and we don't do anything really to correct the error. The other kind of error that people make is what we call off-point errors. I think it was Beth Wheeler, one of our original tag teach founders, who came up with that term. And off-point errors are errors that are not on the tag point. So if you're doing a complex skill like bouncing a basketball or high jump or reading, there are lots of ways that you could make an error that are not the tag point. So let's say the tag point is fingertips to ball if you're dribbling a basketball. There could be lots of things that you do with your arms and your elbows and your head and your body that could be incorrect. And those are off-point errors because the only thing that we're looking at is fingertips on the ball. So those are the two errors, the errors in the actual tag point and off-point errors, which are all the other hundreds of errors that people can make when they're doing something. So I'm just going to show you a bunch of videos, and these are just clips. You've probably maybe seen some of them before. And I've just taken little pieces out of them that show errors being made. So this is a swimming lesson video, and you'll see this is a really good example of error correction in a tag teach session.
The tag point is 4 steps. Tag point is 4 steps. Jen, can you go near him in case he falls? Okay, this time the tag point is jump to Jen. Okay, let's try another one. The tag point is 4 steps.
Okay. I did 4 steps.
You did 3 steps. The tag point is 4 steps.
One more.
So you may have noticed that what happened when he made an error is nothing. And that's basically our tag teach error protocol, is that we set it up so that the learner has little chance of making an error, and if they do make an error, it's up to them to self-assess and try again. So when he didn't go 4 steps when the tag point was 4 steps and he went 3 steps. He came back to me and said, I went 4 steps, and then I said to him, you went 3 steps. And so we do get feedback if the learner asks for it, but a lot of times, and most of the time, they don't really need to ask for feedback because they know what the tag point was. They didn't hear the tag, they know that they didn't meet that tag point, and then they self-assess and try again. Here's another one. Oh, and you'll also notice that we made it easier. So when the tag point was jump to Jen, that was too hard. The teacher, which is me, skipped several steps there and he just couldn't do it. And so immediately realizing that that was too hard, we go back to something easier that we know that the learner can do. And then he gets to try again. So there's sort of two things there. One is making it easier when it's obvious that the learner is not going to be able to do it. And the other thing is letting the learner learn because they didn't get a tag. Here's a dog example. You know, this dog is very clicker wise, and I'm trying to teach her to discriminate between 2 cues. Toss it, which is pick it up in your mouth and throw it, and touch it, which is put your paw on it. And I realized, of course, after when I started watching the videos, are terrible cues because touch it and toss it are so close together. They start with the same letter and sound similar. So it makes it even harder for the dog. Anyway, she did figure it out. So what happens is I've already taught her to toss it and I've already taught her to touch it, and now I'm trying to teach her the difference between the two. And so she has learned it and has done it several times. By the time you'll see this, and what happens is when I ask her to toss it, she touches it with her paw, then she tosses it. So I got this superstitious paw touch happening, and I need to get rid of that. So the way I'm going to get rid of that is to make it more difficult for her to use her paw. So I'm going to put the tuber on a chair so that she will then toss it. So you'll see what happens when I say toss it, she touches it with her paw and then tosses it. And I have to click because she did toss it, which is what I asked for. And after 3 times of making a mistake, I don't want to keep going with that because I will have trained that in and it will be really hard to get it back out again.
Toss it. Toss it. Toss it. Toss it. Target. Target. Toss it. Toss it. Toss it. Toss it. Toss it. Toss it. Target.
You see, she was a little bit flabbergasted by the chair situation, but she figured out that she would still do the toss it with the tuber on the chair. And because it was on the chair, she couldn't really put her paw on it first. So doing that a few times let her learn that toss it means use your mouth and target means use your paw. And yeah, it was target, not touch it. So target and toss it were the 2 cues, still very 2 similar cues. So you can see by the end, she was touching with her paw when I asked for target and tossing it when I asked for her to pick it up with her mouth. Now we have another human one. You've seen this one before, possibly. This is the high jump video, just parts of it, parts where the learner makes a mistake. And when the learner makes a mistake, you'll see, once again, self-assessment. So in the dog video, we just completely ignore the mistake and rearrange the environment so that the dog can learn without a mistake. And with humans, if they hear the tag, they know what the tag point is because we've told them what the tag point is. If they don't hear the tag, they realize, oh, I didn't get my tag. So you'll see this happen twice in this video.
The tag point is throw the arms up. The tag point is kick with right leg bent.
I kicked my leg straight.
Oh, you did.
That was a really nice example of two situations where the learner didn't hear the tag and they self-assessed. And in the first situation, actually, you saw both girls do like this to say, this is what she did. Because even the ones that are watching are learning from whether the one whose turn it is getting a tag or not. So that is a really good example of learners self-assessing. You see they're not frustrated and they're not getting upset. And it doesn't really matter if they make a mistake because we're really not, the coach is not interfering with them or correcting them really in any way. Now we have a printing. And these are all tag point errors. These are not off point errors. So here we have a printing problem. And you'll see after he makes 3 errors, she makes it easier for him.
Okay, let's try these ones. Tag point is red to black. There you go. Now you guys go.
What one?
You'll have to explain the tag point each time.
Okay. Almost. Tag point is red to black. Red to black. See tag point. Whoops, that's black to black. Let's try another one.
How do I do it?
Tag point is red to black. Which one's the red one?
They're both gonna happen.
Just do one line.
Not done yet. Okay, let's start with this one. Tag point is red to black.
But blue at the bottom.
You can see once again, the teacher didn't really give him any correction. She just let him learn. She did say at one point, oh, that was black to black. And sometimes it's good to just point it out, you know, in a gentle way like that if you have a learner that can comprehend that situation. And what she did is made it easier back to a point where she knew that he was going to succeed because he's already done this a whole bunch of times and then all of a sudden he's not doing it. And you heard him say, well, that wasn't supposed to happen. Like he had really no idea why it all went wrong. But he doesn't really mind because he likes playing the game with the tag points and the skittles. So he pulls a bead on that tabulator, and when he pulls 10 beads down, he gets 1 skittle. This is an off-point error. So this is an error that's happening that's not in the thing that we're trying to teach.
Paper and lines. Ready? Other way. Right? There, okay.
So in that situation, he was to tag her behavior so that he could show that he understands what the tag point is, or when it's his turn. And to do that, he needs to be able to use the clicker, and he's holding it backwards. So the teacher just helps him fix that because it's easy. So if it's something easy that you could just sort of show them, and they're not going to be upset by the way that you're showing them, then just show them and get on with it. You don't really need to have a whole lesson. But if he was having a lot of trouble working the clicker, then she would have had to backtrack and actually teach him that. So sometimes with off-point errors like that, you know, you can just say, oh, stand over here, or use your left hand, or, you know, whatever would correct it easily. And sometimes you need to break it down and make a tag point. So that would be a judgment call. So some off-point errors, you can just, you know, fix them easily, just as she did in that video there. Here's what we do with cats.
Paw. Paw. Paw.
I would like this so he has no trouble touching it over in your hand.
Paw. 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 Paw.
So the cat made a couple of errors that time where he rubbed his head on her hand instead of putting his paw up, and she just completely ignored it. And generally, with cats, that's the best way, because the cat will not tolerate any kind of correction. And if you learn to train a cat, you can train pretty much anything. Here's another off-point error. You'll see how she just calmly resets him and gets him back on track. Actually, I'm not sure if that played to the end. Did that play to the end, Ryan? Or he went out to the door. So at one point, the child ran to the door. Okay, so that was the error that he made. So what he's supposed to do is put his foot on that yellow target. The story there is that he's afraid of the bathroom, and so they're moving the target closer and closer to the bathroom, and so he puts his foot on the target and then comes and gets to pull a bead on the tabulator. When he finishes the tabulator, he'll get his iPad or his juice, which are right there that he could just take, but he likes this game. But at one point when he runs to the door, she just goes, you know, gently closes the door and turns him back around. And so that's a way to deal with an off-point error in a, you know, a calm and a nice way. And I have one more. This is another dog training video. So now you'll see this dog trainer, which is Emily in Sweden, Emily Johnson Bay, who's a superb trainer. So you'll see her with her highly trained dog, and he makes a mistake. He's supposed to keep his feet still until he's told to come. So I guess they're working on start line behaviors for agility. And he moves his feet. And so instead of saying anything to him or saying no, or, you know, letting his energy go down by showing him that he made a mistake, she goes back and she uses the toy as a target, a transport method to just take him in a circle and back to where he's supposed to start, and then he can restart without being upset and without getting too much reinforcement for the mistake. So you saw how she just reset him nicely. And he had a little bit of fun with that, but he had a lot of fun when he did the behavior correctly and got the big reinforcement of the big game at the end. So again, it's using that transport with the toy as a way of resetting the dog without upsetting him. But still, he understands that he needs to wait. He's been taught that he needs to wait. She would have taught all that with a lot less distance. And now she expects that he will be able to tolerate her going that far away and then releasing him. So when he makes a mistake, he understands that it's better for him to wait because he's going to get a bigger reward if he waits until he gets the cue to come. Oh, there's sort of two tag teach rules, or I'm not sure if they're rules, guidelines that we have. One of them is the 3-try rule. So if a learner can't perform a tag point after 3 tries, then it's time to stop and regroup, break the skill down further and make it easier. Where you break something down to when you have a problem is back to the point of success. The point of success is a place start or return to where the learner is guaranteed success, so that you know for sure that the learner can succeed. So this is really our biggest tip for preventing errors. If you know that the learner can do it, and you make that a tag point, then you're going to have success for sure to start with. And if you have a setback, if you go back to a point of success, then for sure you're going to have success, and then you can move forward from there. So basically, our error correction protocol is train better. So if we find that our learners are making too many errors, then we have to look at our own training, step back, break it down, and try to build it back up again so that the learner will succeed and will not make errors, not make too many errors. I was actually looking through a bunch of my dog training videos trying to find one with errors, and I really couldn't find any because I've been really careful. Now, the better I get at this, the fewer errors my dogs make. Every puppy I have here is smarter than the one before. It's amazing. So I think that's all that I wanted to say. So, Ryan, are there any questions there?
I do not have any questions from the group right now. Sounds like you were super thorough.
Super thorough. Yeah, that's me. Okay. I'm just going to put this YouTube thing on for 10 seconds and then we'll
thank you so much for everyone joining in.
Yeah, thanks everybody. Oh, there's Morris and Jess and Trish. Sorry, I'm looking at my other
Yes.
screen. Hannah. Oh, my friends are here. Morris is here from Liberia. How cool is that?
Yes, I saw it. That's right.
Okay. Well, thanks everybody. We'll see you next time. Maybe we'll do another one next week. We can put some topics if you suggestion.
Yeah. And of course, we will see you in the comments. This is our YouTube end card, so we'll be uploaded over to our YouTube channel. If you're not already on it, you should be. Make sure you subscribe, get your mind blown, and watch some more cool stuff. How's that?